I found that Canadian R&B was heavily underrepresented. While I dove into the research in my PhD, a lot of Canadian R&B artists were immigrants that came to Canada and struggled to get representation, to get access to airwaves, as well as support in Canadian music. So a lot of them moved to the US to get that support they needed to then come back and be celebrated in Canada. And while I was conducting my research, I kind of put and parsed together a working history of Canadian R&B. I call it an episodic history because I found it was heavily undocumented in Canadian academia, as well as I said, underrepresented in media. So I took a stab at kind of the working history of Canadian R&B since it wasn't really there. But the main focus originally was looking at Drake, Justin Bieber, and Jessie Reyes and looking at their different approaches to branding themselves as Canadian. They did it in different ways. I argue Justin Bieber represents the Great White North traditional aspects of Canada. Drake represents the multicultural Canada I experienced in Scarborough. And Jessie Reyes represents that second generation immigrant struggle. So I had to look at that history of Canadian R&B before I then looked at what contemporary artists are doing in the space.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're doing your research, did you see like the past history of artists such as Julie Black
Yes.